When a man truly values you, his actions speak louder than his words. But when he doesn't, when his behavior starts revealing the truth, it's not confusion you're feeling, it's clarity. The problem is, we often mistake inconsistency for mystery, distance for strength, and emotional unavailability for maturity. But there are patterns that tell you exactly where you stand. And if you pay attention, you'll never have to beg for clarity again. The first behavior of a man who doesn't value you is that he makes you question your worth. He doesn't have to say you're not enough. He does it with silence, with dismissiveness, with forgetting the things that matter to you. You bring your whole heart into the connection and he meets you with half effort. You start wondering, asterisk, am I asking for too much? Asterisk. But the truth is, you're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. When someone values you, they don't make you shrink. They make you feel seen, heard, and significant. So if you find yourself constantly trying to earn someone's attention, it's time to stop proving your value to someone who can't recognize it. The second behavior is emotional inconsistency. One moment he's warm and affectionate, and the next he's cold and detached. You never know which version of him you're going to get. That's not love, that's control. People who value you don't make you feel safe one day and invisible the next. They show up with consistency because real connection thrives on stability, not confusion. You shouldn't have to decode someone's behavior just to feel secure. When a man values you, you never have to chase reassurance. It's given freely through his actions. The third behavior is disregard for your boundaries. A man who doesn't value you will test your limits, not to understand them, but to push past them. He'll take advantage of your kindness, your forgiveness, your empathy. Every time you say, this hurts me, and he keeps doing it anyway, he's telling you exactly how little your emotions matter to him. Respect isn't about grand gestures, it's about honoring what you communicate. When someone continues to cross your boundaries, they're not misunderstanding you, they're choosing themselves at your expense. The fourth behavior is emotional neglect disguised as independence. He'll say things like, I'm just not good at expressing myself, or I need space, but somehow that space only exists when you need him most. Independence is healthy, but connection requires vulnerability. A man who values you will let you see his fears, his insecurities, his dreams, because he trusts you with them. But when someone withholds emotion as a form of control, they're not protecting themselves, they're protecting their power over you. And here's the hard truth. It's not your job to make someone value you. It's your job to value yourself enough to walk away when they don't. Love doesn't demand you lose yourself to keep it alive. You deserve consistency, respect, and tenderness, not confusion, control, and crumbs. The moment you stop chasing validation from someone who can't see your worth, you create space for someone who will. Because being valued isn't about being chosen, it's about being cherished. And the right person won't make you doubt that for a second. He makes you question your worth not by shouting it, but through quiet, consistent actions that make you doubt yourself. At first, everything feels fine. You tell yourself, he's just busy, just tired, just distracted. You rationalize the distance because you remember how attentive he once was. But over time, the small dismissals begin to add up. He forgets the things that matter to you, the moments that are important to you, and the effort you put in starts to feel invisible. You try harder, thinking that if you love him better, if you become more patient, more understanding, more available, maybe he'll start seeing you again. But he doesn't. And that's when the slow erosion begins, not of the relationship, but of you. When someone doesn't value you, they don't have to break you with cruelty, they break you with neglect. You start to question if your feelings are valid, if you're being too emotional, too sensitive, too needy. You begin to edit yourself to keep the peace, withholding what you truly feel, because every time you express a need, it's met with indifference or irritation. And soon you find yourself walking on eggshells in your own heart, afraid to take up space in a relationship that's supposed to make you feel safe. The tragedy is, many people confuse this kind of detachment with maturity. They think maybe he's just not expressive, or maybe he shows love differently. But the truth is, effort is a universal language. When someone values you, they make you feel like you matter through consistency, through kindness, through showing up. When they don't, you're left filling in the silence with hope, trying to convince yourself there's love in the gaps. But love that makes you question your worth is not love. It's emotional depletion disguised as devotion. It's you carrying both sides of a relationship, trying to keep it alive while the other person barely notices. And the hardest part is realizing that the love you're waiting for from them, you actually owe to yourself. You deserve to be with someone who makes you feel like you're enough exactly as you are. Because the moment you stop trying to prove your value to someone who refuses to see it, you start remembering who you were before they made you forget your worth. He's emotionally inconsistent, warm one day, distant the next. You never know which version of him you're going to get. One moment he's affectionate, saying the right words, making you feel seen, and then suddenly, without warning, he pulls away. He becomes cold, detached, unreachable. You're left confused, wondering what changed, replaying every conversation in your head, trying to find the moment you lost him. But the truth is, you didn't lose him. He was never fully there. His inconsistency isn't a sign of confusion. It's a reflection of how little he prioritizes your emotional safety. Emotional inconsistency is one of the most subtle and painful forms of disregard, because it keeps you addicted to potential. You start craving the version of him that once showed up, the one who made you laugh, who seemed to care, who made promises that felt real. But every time he disappears, every time he turns cold, you blame yourself. You think maybe you were too clingy, too emotional, or too demanding. That's the trap. You start believing that your needs are the problem. When someone values you, you don't have to earn consistency. They show up because they want to. They communicate because they care about how you feel. But when someone's behavior swings between affection and indifference, they're teaching you that love is uncertain, that it's something to chase, not something to receive. You start to live for the highs, the rare moments when he's attentive again. And those moments feel intoxicating, not because they're special, but because they're rare. That's not connection, that's emotional confusion. Healthy love doesn't make you question where you stand. It gives you peace, not anxiety. It's steady, not sporadic. A man who values you doesn't withdraw to make you chase him. He communicates, he reassures, he's present. Inconsistency is not passion, it's instability. It's a sign that you're investing in someone who doesn't know how to handle your heart. You deserve consistency. You deserve effort that doesn't vanish when things get hard. You deserve someone who doesn't just show up when it's convenient, but stays when it matters most. Because love isn't proven through intensity, it's proven through reliability. And if he can't offer that, then no amount of patience will ever turn inconsistency into commitment. He disrespects your boundaries, not always in loud, obvious ways, but in subtle moments that leave you uneasy. He hears your no, but acts like it's negotiable. He brushes off your discomfort with a laugh, a joke, or silence. At first, you tell yourself it's not a big deal, that maybe you're being too sensitive or overreacting. But deep down, you know when something doesn't feel right. When someone truly values you, they protect your peace. When they don't, they test how much of yourself you're willing to give up to keep them. A man who doesn't respect your boundaries thrives on your hesitation. He learns quickly that you care deeply, that you're forgiving, that you want harmony, and he uses that against you. Every time he crosses a line and you let it slide, he takes a little more. It might start small, ignoring a request, dismissing a feeling, or violating your privacy, but over time, those small cracks widen into deep emotional wounds. You find yourself tolerating behavior you once said you never would. You compromise your peace to maintain connection, but what you're really maintaining is control, his control over how much you can endure. The most painful part is realizing that disrespect doesn't always look like cruelty. Sometimes it looks like indifference. It's him forgetting what you said was important to you. It's him making choices that hurt you and then calling you dramatic for reacting. It's him pretending not to understand your boundaries because acknowledging them would require effort and accountability. That kind of disregard doesn't come from ignorance, it comes from entitlement. It's a silent statement that says, my comfort matters more than your limits. But respect is the foundation of love. Without it, affection is empty. You can't build safety where your voice isn't heard. When someone values you, they don't see your boundaries as obstacles. They see them as guidelines for how to love you better. They listen, they adjust, and they care about how their actions affect you. But when a man consistently ignores your boundaries, he's not loving you, he's conditioning you to accept less. And that's not love, that's control disguised as connection. He withholds emotional intimacy and calls it independence. He convinces you that his distance is strength, that his silence means peace, and that his lack of expression is just how he is. But deep down, you know there's more behind it, a wall built to keep you out. You try to reach him, to understand him, to make him feel safe enough to open up. You tell yourself he just needs time, that if you love him enough, he'll eventually let you in. But no matter how patient or gentle you are, the emotional wall never crumbles. He stays detached, giving you just enough affection to keep you holding on, but never enough to make you feel secure. This emotional withholding isn't independence, it's avoidance. True independence means being whole within yourself, times and times still being capable of connection. What he's doing is control. By keeping you at an emotional distance, he keeps the power. You never know how he feels, what he's thinking, or where you stand. And that uncertainty keeps you trying harder, pouring more of yourself into the relationship, hoping that one day he'll finally see your love as safe enough to trust. But emotional intimacy can't exist in a one-sided effort. A man who values you won't use silence as a weapon. He won't disappear into emotional isolation every time life gets uncomfortable. Instead, he'll let you in. He'll share his fears, his worries, his insecurities, not because it's easy, but because he knows that vulnerability is the bridge that builds real connection. Emotional intimacy isn't about constant closeness, it's about honesty. It's about two people being unafraid to be fully seen. When someone withholds affection or vulnerability, they often do it to maintain control, to avoid accountability, or to prevent attachment they can't handle. But love doesn't grow in emotional starvation. You can't feel valued by someone who's too afraid to show up fully. Love requires presence, effort, and courage, not walls disguised as boundaries. You deserve someone who doesn't make you guess how they feel, someone who opens their heart without fear of being seen, someone who chooses connection over control. Because when a man truly values you, He doesn't run from emotional intimacy. He builds it, protects it, and deepens it every single day. When a man doesn't value you, it shows not in grand betrayals, but in the quiet ways he pulls away, dismisses, and diminishes your worth. He makes you question yourself, keeps you chasing his attention through inconsistency, crosses the boundaries you clearly set, and hides behind emotional walls so he never has to truly show up. And if you're not careful, you start thinking that this is normal, that love is supposed to hurt, that patience will fix everything, that if you just give more, he'll finally see your value. But real love doesn't demand that you shrink. It doesn't make you beg for consistency, for respect, or for vulnerability. The truth is, the way someone treats you is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of how they see themselves. You can't teach a person how to value you if they don't value themselves first. But you can decide what you'll tolerate. You can choose to stop giving your energy to someone who drains it. You can choose to walk away not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Because the most powerful form of love is the one you give yourself, the one that says, I deserve peace, I deserve effort, I deserve to be valued.